Gasho, Gasho. Well, it's been an eventful few days. I thought some people might use with a little space to come here to get a kind of a Dharma inspiration for where we are now. I notice Washin is here. Washin. For some of us, it's been an especially important few days, and we'll talk about that later. But right now, just for a moment, on our first sitting, I'd like to give you a little insight of what I want to say on this, just for a moment. Zen people talk about being in the moment, and we also talk about the wide view and the long view. Right now, we have to practice with what is before us, but we also must not lose sight of the passing seasons and what comes next. The road is never straight. Sometimes it goes places that we don't wish it to go, but we Zen folks practice with that. Now, I'm not taking any position on what happened in the American election. Of course, I have my own opinion. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, well, however you feel about this world, you have to take the long view too, and the view that's right in front of you. Now, right now, I want you to take the view that's right in front of you and put aside tomorrow. Right now, we're going to sit here. Later, we'll talk a little bit more about it. Okay? How are you doing, Washin?
Well, so far so good.
Okay. So let's sit right now. Please, whatever your thoughts and concerns about your life, yourself, and the world, and the state of wherever you live, wherever that is, right now, let's put it aside and just simply sit. And later we'll reflect on it a little more, okay? By the way, I have an excuse. I had my COVID vaccine yesterday. By the way, I encourage vaccinations for everyone. That's not a political statement. That's just worried about your health. But so I'm a little, you know how that is after you get your COVID vaccine today. I may be swinging back and forth a little bit during Zazen, but I'll hang in there too, okay? Right now we're going to sit, and we're going to sit with just this, right? Is Maino here? Yes, Washin, excellent.
the heart of the perfection of great wisdom, Sutra. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, awaken one of compassion in Prajna Paramita, the deep practice of perfect wisdom, perceive the emptiness of all five conditions and was free of suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form, form is precisely emptiness, emptiness precisely form, sensations, perceptions, formations, and consciousness are also like this. O Shariputra, all things are expressions of emptiness, not born, not destroyed, not stained, not pure, neither waxing nor waning. Thus emptiness is not form, not sensation, nor perception, not formation, nor consciousness, no ear, no tongue, body, mind, no sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, nor object of mind, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, no end to ignorance, no old age and death, no cessation of old age and death, no suffering, nor cause or end to suffering, no path, no wisdom, and no gain, no gain. Thus Bodhisattvas live this Prajna Paramita with no hindrance of mind, no hindrance, therefore no fear, far beyond all delusion. Nirvana is already here, all past, present, and future Buddhas live this Prajna Paramita and realize supreme and complete enlightenment. Therefore know that Prajna Paramita is the sacred mantra, the luminous mantra, the supreme mantra, the incomparable mantra, by which all suffering is clear. This is no other than truth. Therefore set for the Prajna Paramita mantra, set for this mantra and proclaim Gati Gati Paragati Parasangati Bodhisattva Hanya Shinyo. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, reality existing right here now. In reciting the heart of the perfection of Great Wisdom Sutra, we dedicate our sincere efforts to Shakyamuni Buddha, Honored One, the historical Buddha and teacher, and to those ancestral teachers, Eihei Dogen, Honored One, Soji Keizan, Honored One, all successive Honored Ones up until Zuigaku Rempa, Honored One, and Guda Wafu, Honored One, and to all other Honored Ones, same yet diverse Honored Ones, whose names have been forgotten or left unsaid. We also dedicate this effort to the three treasures, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, to all awakened ones and teachers in all places and times, we especially seek tranquility and well-being for all creatures now suffering or ill in health. May they be serene through all the ills. May their lives be at peace and wisdom pervade the darkness of ignorance. We dedicate our hopes and aspirations to all victims of war and violence and natural events, to the injured and to all families touched by these tragedies, to the healing of hatred in all countries and among all peoples, to the wisdom and compassion of our world leaders, to the peace of the world and harmony of all beings. Thus, let the harmful effects of words, thoughts, and actions be dispelled, and compassion bloom in perpetual spring. May we all realize and live the enlightened way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, Maha Prajna Paramita.
Zazen. KINHIN. We will have Zazen and a little talk. Can you hear me? If you can, give me a little gusho or a wave. There you go. Okay. So we don't talk politics in this Sangha. This is a place to put that aside for a time and put down the debates and the me versus you, and to come here to just sit. However, we Buddhists also have certain values guided by the precepts, guided by our Bodhisattva vows. And I don't say left or right or center. I speak only for these virtues that we teach in the Dharma, the Buddhist teachings. Now, some of them are very simple. They've been there since the Buddha's time. Values of peace and nonviolence, values of moderation, values of cooperation, I would say, respect for others. These values can be traced through the centuries. And we also stand for, I would say, some modern things that Buddha, Dogen didn't have to think about so much in their time. Things like protecting the planet's environment. I would say that affects people's lives and health. So goes with our vow to save lives. I think these days people deserve a safe place to live, their own house that is undisturbed, and their own country that is undisturbed. Food, access to education, medical care. I think Buddha and Dogen didn't have to think about that so much. There wasn't much medical care back then. And you couldn't really open your mouth on social issues so much. But now we can talk about it a little more and say that these things are in keeping with the Buddhist values. I happen to be watching that drama now, Shogun, that's about Japan in the 16th century. All I'll say about it is, you didn't open your mouth. You didn't have, even if you felt that society was unjust back then, you couldn't say anything. Not if you hoped to live for another day. Now we can talk about these things more. I think Dogen, the other great Zen masters of the past, they dared not speak, no matter how they felt. But anyway, we do emphasize certain values, and these are like seeds that we plant. Now, traditionally, Buddhism has spoken about planting these seeds of peace and generosity and goodness, moderation inside our hearts, but it's also true that we seek to plant these in society, around us. I think Dogen, if he could, would have liked to make the whole world like his little monastery. His monastery was something like a little ideal society where he was building these values within the monastery gates, where the monks would cooperate, live together, each have mutual respect in their own place. If he could have, I think he would have spread it to the whole world. But these are the values we stand for. They're like seeds that we plant. And this is why I want to say that Soto Zen especially is sometimes called Farmer Zen, and there's many reasons why it has that name. But in this case, I'd like to say that we are like farmers. People think that Zen is only about being in the present, accepting what is now, but that has never been true. We're more like farmers who accept and work with what is now in this season, in this day, in this place, but also plan and work anticipating the coming season. It is winter now. Master Dogen said, winter is just winter. Summer is just summer. Spring is just spring. Fall is just fall. This is true. When you are in the spring or in the winter, that is everything. But Master Dogen also built his monastery and recognized that time flows. Tomorrow comes from today. So it is a misunderstanding to think that we don't live for tomorrow too. All the Buddhist teachers did and have. And we do too. We sit with what is. We tend the ground as it is now in the winter, preparing it for what comes in the next season. It has never been a matter of just staying here and forgetting tomorrow. And that's what we must do. Right now is the winter. It's cold. The ground is a little frozen. Yet, the spring will come. I want to talk a little bit about history again. Sorry, I think modern Western people don't respect history enough. If I hadn't gone the course I was working on a actually graduate degree in European history at one time. Gave that up to be more practical, but I still can't resist being a student of history. And I want to say this. I think it's true for Buddhism. I think it's just true for any of us who look at the course of the passing centuries. Buddhism teaches that things come in cycles. It's never a straight line. There is good and evil in this world. I'm not commenting again on any candidate. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there are values we support, and definitely values of violence, values of greed, values of jealousy, values of ignorance that we resist. And Buddhism has always recognized this, and that it is kind of a tug of war between these good Buddhist values of peace and harmony and respect and the other side of greed and ignorance. And it goes back and forth, and it has through the centuries. But it tends to come in great cycles and swings. And if you do not plant the ground now, the crops do not come in the summer and the fall. You have to prepare the ground now. It's hard sometimes because it seems that things are only going in a bad direction. But I don't think, if you look at the long term of history, that is true. And I'm going to say something. We have our friend here from Ukraine, and it's the hardest thing maybe for him because it's a little more a matter of life and facing the ugliest parts of what man does to man. But I even have the chutzpah to speak to the Ukrainian friend here. Chutzpah is a nice Sanskrit word. It means guts. I think you... And that's this. It is true that history sometimes goes in directions we do not like. But generally, like the crops, like the seasons, it comes back and finds a balance. It's just true. So I'm going to ask you, don't only think about this moment right here, but also think about the longer term, the wider perspective, and where we have come, even if things swing back and forth. You would not live in Buddha's time in India. I don't think you would like it very much. Things are very hard, so hard that the Buddhists of those days just said, it's almost hopeless, this world. Master Dogen's day, he had to close the doors of the monastery to the outside world. Talk about crazy kings and leaders. Oh my. Talk about injustice in society and inequality. Huh. As there used to be a commercial in the 60s for Women's Lib that said, we've come a long way, baby. It's true. There was a saying this election, we're not going back. Well, I think we go back and forth, is more like it. But generally, I think we tend to come around with time and head in good directions. Even Ukraine, I'm going to say, as terrible as it is now, my grandmother's family came from Ukraine. And I don't think you would want to be in Ukraine in the 16th century. I don't think you would want to be in Ukraine in the 19th century. I don't think you would want to be in Ukraine in 1950. As terrible as it is now, it is not the end. There is tomorrow, and it is coming. A friend of mine wrote me who's LGBTQ, very upset, worried about what tomorrow holds. And I told her, I said, my brother was gay in America in the 1950s. You did not want to be him then. He had to stay in the closet. Shame, ruined his life. He had to hide. Things have swung back and forth but only a bit. And only as terrible as it is, this cycle will lead to the next cycle. This is not the end of history. It is only this moment of history. Again, I'm not talking about any particular candidates or anything like that. I'm just talking about all of society, how it goes. And it's not just in America, wherever you are. These things swing back and forth. And that's where our job comes in. You see, when things get dark, that is the time most of all when light is needed. We have a candle burning on the altar here, and the room is a little dark and cold today. And that's why that candle is especially bright, especially important. You, I'm talking to you, each one of you, are one of those lights, those candles. This is not a time to say darkness is winning, even if it's true for a time. This is true, and I'm talking to my priest Washin especially, who's living as a little tiny light in a very dark place sometimes. This is when your shining light to give inspiration must be most important. You are the seed planter. You are the one who, when people are suffering, stands for something. A better day. Better values, perhaps. It's a little bit like saying that you don't appreciate the nurse until you're sick. You don't appreciate the fireman until there's a fire, like that. Well, I'm talking about you, a single Buddhist practitioner, or anyone of good, humane values. Right now, you must stand as a little candle and say, it is a little dark, but there is light. And I guarantee you, with time, the sun will return. That's your job. Your role has become even more important. Now, don't think you're alone in that, because you're not. It might seem that the world has gone crazy sometimes. There are a lot of people who stand for ugly human values, the greed, the violence, the intolerance. That's true. There are a lot of those people, and there always have been through history. But there are a lot less now. A lot less. And there are millions, billions of people who stand for something good now. You are not alone. You're like an army of the good, an army for peace. And you're one corporal or sergeant in it. So that is your Buddhist mission. Battles can be lost, but the war, and I'm talking about not the kind of war where people get killed, but the kind of war with the sword of wisdom that brings healing and peace. The war for peace can be won. Don't lose hope. Now, as I said, we not only think about tomorrow, we just sit right now. This is vital too. We sit with what is right now. We do both. Tomorrow, yes, but right now. And right now, what are we going to do? Attention. We're going to sit. Let's sit. We will now recite the verse of atonement and the 4 vows.
All harmful acts, words, and thoughts ever committed by me since of old, on account of beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born on my body, mouth, and mind, now I atone for them all. To save all sentient beings, though beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to attain the enlightened way, a way unattainable. To save all sentient beings, though beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to attain the enlightened way, a way unattainable. To save all sentient beings, though beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to attain the enlightened way, a way unattainable.
Ugh, time to get the heaters in here. Winter really did come this week. Well, okay, all of you, we're gonna stick around, some of us, and have tea for a few minutes if you'd like to stick around. Otherwise, for the rest of you, this is Colonel Jundo telling you you have your assignment, soldier. So get out there and bring a little light and peace into the world. All right. Washing, lovely chanting today, and all of you, good to see you. Okay, guys, see you later.